Beyoğlu is a district located on the European side of Istanbul, Turkey, separated from the Old City by the Golden Horn. It was known as Pera during the Middle Ages, and this name remained in common use until the mid-20th century and the immigration of its large Greek population. According to the prevailing theory, the Turkish name of Pera, Beyoğlu, is a modification by folk etymology of the Venetian ambassadorial title of Beyl, whose palazzo was the most grandiose structure in this quarter. The informal Turkish language title Beyoğlu was originally used by the Ottoman Turks to describe Lodovico Gritti, Istanbul-born son of Andrea Gritti, who was the Venetian Beyl in Istanbul during the reign of Sultan Bayezid II and was later elected Doge of Venice in 1523. Beyoğlu thus referred to Lodovico Gritti, who established close relations with the Sublime Porte, and whose mansion was near the present-day Taksim Square. Located further south in Beyoğlu and originally built in the early 16th century, the Venetian Palace was the seat of the Beyl. The original palace building was replaced by the existing one in 1781, which later became the Italian Embassy following Italy's unification in 1861, and the Italian Consulate in 1923, when Ankara became the capital of the Republic of Turkey. The district encompasses other neighborhoods located north of the Golden Horn, including Galata, Tefane, Cihangir, Şişhane, Tepebaşı, Tarlabaşı, Dolapdere and Kasimpasa, and is connected to the old city center across the Golden Horn through the Galata Bridge, Ataturk Bridge and Golden Horn Metro Bridge. Beyoğlu is the most active art, entertainment and nightlife center of Istanbul. History. The area now known as Beyoğlu has been inhabited for millennia, and records show that a settlement has existed on the northern shore of the Golden Horn since the time of Christ. In the Greek period, Byzantines named the hillside covered with orchards Sikai, or Peronens Sikais, referring to the other side of the Golden Horn. As the Byzantine Empire grew, so did Constantinople and its environs. The northern side of the Golden Horn became built up as a suburb of Byzantium as early as the 5th century. In this period the area began to be called Galata, and Emperor Theodosius II built a fortress. The Greeks believed that the name comes either from Galatas, as the area was used by shepherds in the early medieval period, or from the word Galatai, as the Celtic tribe of Gauls were thought to have camped here during the Hellenistic period before settling into Galatia in central Anatolia, becoming known as the Galatians. The inhabitants of Galatia are famous for the Epistle to the Galatians and the dying Galatian statue. The name may have also derived from the Italian word calata, meaning downward slope, as Galata, formerly a colony of the Republic of Genoa between 1273 and 1453, stands on a hilltop that goes downwards to the sea. Genoese and Venetian periods. The area came to be the base of European merchants, particularly from Genoa and Venice, in what was then known as Pera. Following the Fourth Crusade in 1204, and during the Latin Empire of Constantinople, the Venetians became more prominent in Pera. The Dominican Church of St. Paul, today known as the Arap Kami, is from this period. In 1273 the Byzantine Emperor Michael VIII Palaeologus granted Pera to the Republic of Genoa in recognition of Genoa's support of the empire after the Fourth Crusade and the sacking of Constantinople in 1204. Pera became a flourishing trade colony, ruled by a podesta. The Genoese Palace was built in 1316 by Montano de Marinis, the podesta of Galata, and still remains today in ruins, near the Bankalıkadesi in Karaköy, along with its adjacent buildings and numerous Genoese houses from the early 14th century. In 1348, the Genoese built the famous Galata Tower, one of the most prominent landmarks of Istanbul. Pera remained under Genoese control until May 29, 1453, when it was conquered by the Ottomans along with the rest of the city. After the siege of Constantinople, during the Byzantine period, the Genoese Podesta ruled over the Italian community of Galata, which was mostly made up of the Genoese, Venetians, Tuscans and Ragusans. Following the Turkish siege of Constantinople in 1453, during which the Genoese sided with the Byzantines and defended the city together with them, the Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II allowed the Genoese to return to the city, but Galata was no longer run by a Genoese Podesta. Venice, Genoa's arch-rival, regained control in the strategic citadel of Galata, which they were forced to leave in 1261 when the Byzantines retook Constantinople and brought an end to the Latin Empire that was established by Enrico Dandolo, the Doge of Venice. Venice immediately established political and commercial ties with the Ottoman Empire, and a Venetian Bale was sent to Pera as an ambassador. During the Byzantine period, it was the Venetians who suggested Leonardo da Vinci to Bayezid II when the Sultan mentioned his intention to construct a bridge over the Golden Horn, and Leonardo designed his Galata Bridge in 1502. The Balo's seat was the Venetian Palace, originally built in Beyoğlu in the early 16th century and replaced by the existing palace building in 1781, which later became the Italian Embassy, after the unification of Italy in 1861, and the Italian Consulate in 1923, when Ankara became the new Turkish capital. The Ottoman Empire had an interesting relationship with the Republic of Venice. Even though the two states often went to war over the control of East Mediterranean territories and islands, they were keen on restoring their trade pacts once the wars were over, such as the renewed trade pacts of 1479, 1503, 1522, 1540 and 1575 following major sea wars between the two sides. The Venetians were also the first Europeans to taste Ottoman delicacies such as coffee. Centuries before other Europeans saw coffee beans for the first time in their lives during the Battle of Vienna in 1683. These encounters can be described as the beginning of today's rich coffee culture in both Venice and Vienna. Following the conquest of Constantinople and Pera in 1453, the coast and the low-lying areas were quickly settled by the Turks. But the European presence in the area did not end. Several Roman Catholic churches, as St. Anthony of Padua, SS. Peter and Paul in Galata and St. Mary Draperish were established for the needs of the Levantine population. 19th century Beyoğlu. During the 19th century it was again home to many European traders, and housed many embassies, especially along the Grande Rue de Pera. The presence of such a prominent European population, commonly referred to as Levantines, made it the most westernized part of Istanbul, especially when compared to the old city at the other side of the Golden Horn, and allowed for influxes of modern technology, fashion, and arts. Thus, Beyoğlu was one of the first parts of Istanbul to have telephone lines, electricity, trams, municipal government and even an underground railway. The tunnel, inaugurated in 1875 as the world's second subway line to carry the people of Pera up and down from the port of Galata and the nearby business and banking district of Karaköy, where the Bank Al-Qadisi, the financial center of the Ottoman Empire, is located. The theater, cinema, patisserie and café culture that still remains strong in Beyoğlu dates from this late Ottoman period. Shops like Ansai, famous for its chocolate mousse and profiteroles, predate the founding of the Republic and survived until recently. The foreign communities also built their own schools, many of which went on to educate the elite of future generations of Turks, and still survive today as some of the best schools in Istanbul. The rapid modernization which took place in Europe and left Ottoman Turkey behind was symbolized by the differences between Beyoğlu and the historic Turkish quarters such as Eminönü and Fatih across the Golden Horn. In the Old City, When the Ottoman sultans finally initiated a modernization program with the Edict of Tanzimat in 1839, they started constructing numerous buildings in Beyoğlu that mixed traditional Ottoman styles with newer, European ones. In addition, Sultan Abdülhamid stopped living in the Topkapi Palace and built a new palace near Beyoğlu, called the Dolmabahçe Palace, which blended the neoclassical, Baroque and Rococo styles. 20th–21 stone centuries. When the Ottoman Empire collapsed and the Turkish Republic was founded, Beyoğlu went into gradual decline. The decline accelerated with the departure of the large Greek population of Pera and adjacent Galata as a result of Turkish pressure over the Cyprus conflict. During the 1950s and 1960s, the widespread political violence between leftist and rightist groups which troubled Turkey in the late 1970s also severely affected the lifestyle of the district, and accelerated its decline with the flight of the middle-class citizens to newer suburban areas such as Levent and Yeşilköy. By the late 1980s, many of the grandiose neoclassical and Art Nouveau apartment blocks, formerly the residences of the late Ottoman elite, became home to immigrants from the countryside, while Beyoğlu continued to enjoy a reputation for its cosmopolitan and sophisticated atmosphere until the 1940s and 1950s. By the 1980s, the area had become economically and socially troubled. The first decades of the 21st century have witnessed the rapid gentrification of these neighborhoods. Istiklal Avenue has once again become a destination for tourists, and formerly bohemian neighborhoods like Cihangir have once again become fashionable and quite expensive. Some 19th and early 20th century buildings have been tastefully restored, while others have been converted into mammoth luxury malls of dubious aesthetic value. As newer, more international and affluent residents have begun to creep down the hills into Tufan and Talabasi, disagreements with more conservative elements in the neighborhoods have become common. The low-lying areas such as Tufan, Kasimpasa and Karaköy, and the side streets of the area consist of older buildings. Infrastructure. Roads parallel to Istiklal Avenue runs the wide bi-directional boulevard named Talabasi Caddesi, which carries most of the traffic through the area and was constructed in the 1980s. The streets on either side of this road contain historic buildings and churches. The once cosmopolitan areas surrounding them have deteriorated. Culture. Foreigners, especially from Euro-Mediterranean and West European countries, have long resided in Beyoğlu. There is a cosmopolitan atmosphere in the heart of the district, where people from various cultures live in Cihangir and Gümüşsuyu. Beyoğlu also has a number of historical tekkes and turbes. Several Sufi orders, such as the Cihangiri order, were founded here. Most of the consulates are still in this area. The Italian, British, German, Greek, Russian, Dutch, and Swedish consulates are significant in terms of their history and architecture. Beyoğlu is also home to many high schools like Galatasaray Lisesi, Deutsche Schule Istanbul, St. George's Austrian High School, Lycée St. Pulcheri, Liceo Italiano, Beyoğlu Anatolian High School, Beyoğlu Kiz Lisesi, Zografi and Lyceum, Zapayan Lyceum, and numerous others. The globally unique international art project United Buddy Bears was presented in Beyoğlu during the winter of 2004-2005. Tourism. The main thoroughfare is Istiklal Caddesi, running into the neighborhood from Taksim Square, a pedestrianized 1-mile-long street of shops, cafes, patisseries, restaurants, pubs, wine houses and clubs, as well as bookshops, theaters, cinemas and art galleries. Some of Istiklal Avenue has a 19th-century metropolitan character, and the avenue is lined with neoclassical and Art Nouveau buildings. The nostalgic tram which runs on Istiklal Avenue, between Taksim Square and Tunnel, was also reinstalled in the early 1990s with the aim of reviving the historic atmosphere of the district. Some of the city's historic pubs and winehouses are located in the areas around Istiklal Avenue in Beyoğlu. The 19th-century Sisik Passage on Istiklal Avenue can be described as a miniature version of the famous Galleria in Milan, Italy, and has rows of historic pubs, winehouses and restaurants. The site of Sisik Passage was originally occupied by the Naum Theatre, which was burned during the Great Fire of Pera in 1870. The theatre was frequently visited by Sultans Abdulaziz and Abdulhamid II, and hosted Giuseppe Verdi's play Il Trovatore before the opera houses of Paris. After the fire of 1870, the theatre was purchased by the local Greek banker Aristarchis Ographos Effendi, and architect Kleanis Zanos designed the current building, which was called Cité de Pera or Aristarchi Passage in its early years. Yorgunun Meyhanesi was the first winehouse to be opened in the passage. In 1908 the Ottoman Grand Vizier Sait Pasha purchased the building, and it became known as the Sait Pasha Passage. Following the Russian Revolution of 1917, many impoverished noble Russian women, including a baroness, sold flowers here. By the 1940s the building was mostly occupied by flower shops, hence the present Turkish name Sisik Passage. Following the restoration of the building in 1988, it was reopened as a galleria of pubs and restaurants. Pano, established by Panayotis Papadopoulos in 1898, and the neighboring Victor Levi, established in 1914, are among the oldest wine houses in the city and are located on Kalyoncu Street near the British Consulate and Galatasaray Square. Cumhuriyet Meyhanesi, renamed in the early 1930s but originally established in the early 1890s. Is another popular historic winehouse and is located in the nearby Sana Street, along with the Hazopulo Winehouse, established in 1871. Inside the Hazopulo Passage, which connects Sana Street and Mesrutiyet Avenue, the famous Nevazade Street, which has rows of historic pubs next to each other, is also in this area. Other historic pubs are found in the areas around Tunnel Passage and the nearby Ismaili Meshit Street. Some historic neighborhoods around Istiklal Avenue have recently been recreated, such as Cezaire Street near Galatasaray High School, which became known as La Rue Française and has rows of francophone pubs, cafes and restaurants playing live French music. Artiste Terrassa on Cezaire Street is a popular restaurant bar which offers panoramic views of the Hagia Sophia, Topkapi Palace, Sultan Ahmed Mosque and Galata Tower. Throughout Beyoğlu, there are many nightclubs for all kinds of tastes. Babylon and New Pera are among the most popular European-style nightclubs and restaurants in the district, while Kumansi plays rock, hard rock and heavy metal. Maxim plays oriental music, while Andan is a place where one can eat, drink and dance to the traditional Turkish music, called fasıl. There are restaurants on the top of historic buildings with a view of the city, such as 360. Ismaili Meshit Street has rows of traditional Turkish restaurants and Okakbasi houses, while the streets around the historic Balık Pazarı is full of eateries offering seafood like fried mussels and calamari along with bir or raki, or the traditional kokorek. Beyoğlu also has many elegant passages from the 19th century, most of which have historic and classy chocolateries and patisseries, such the Marquis Pasternesi, along with many shops lining their alleys. There is also a wide range of fast food restaurants in the district, of international chains such as McDonald's, Burger King, Domino's Pizza, Pizza Hut, etc., as well as local Turkish chains, such as Simit Sarai, which serves simit along with cheese and tea, or individual eateries such as doner kebab houses. Apart from the hundreds of shops lining the streets and avenues of the district, there is also a business community. Odakul, a 1970s high-rise building, is the headquarters of Istanbul Sanayi Odası and is located between Istiklal Avenue and Tepebasi, next to the Pera Museum. Most of the upper floors of the buildings in Beyoğlu are office space, and small workshops are found on the side streets. Landmarks: Istanbul Modern, located near Karaköy port on the Bosphorus, frequently hosts the exhibitions of renowned Turkish and foreign artists. Pera Museum exhibits some of the works of art from the late Ottoman period, such as the Kaplumbağa Attribution by Osman Hamdi Bey. Apart from its permanent collection, the museum also hosts visiting exhibitions, which included the works of renowned artists such as Rembrandt, while the museum almost exclusively displays the works of its founder Burhan Doğancay, a contemporary artist. One floor has been set aside for the works of the artist's father, Adil Doğancay. Hotel Pera Palace was built in the district in 1892 for hosting the passengers of the Orient Express. Agatha Christie wrote the novel Murder on the Orient Express in this hotel. Her room is conserved as a museum. Antonio di Padova, the largest Catholic church in Turkey, and the Neve Shalom Synagogue, the largest synagogue in Turkey, are also in Beyoğlu. There are other important Catholic and Orthodox churches in the area, such as the St. Mary Draperist Church or centrally located Hagia Triada Church at the conjunction point between Istiklal Avenue and Taksim Square. It is the seat of the Chaldean Catholic Archieparchy of Diyarbakir, the only Jewish museum of Turkey, which has been converted from a synagogue, is located in the Karaköy Quarter, which was known as Galata in the medieval period. Education. The Deutsche Schule Istanbul is located in Beyoğlu. Lycée Français Pierre Locher d'Istanbul has the Beyoğlu campus. International relations. Beyoğlu is twinned with